Hi everyone, this is Tammy with Life Begin in a Garden. In today's video, we're going to make a wood butter and also make a cast iron conditioner. Your wooden utensils and cutting boards need a little care if you want them to last for a long time. The same is true with your cast iron skillets and muffin pans. So these are ingredients that you can use safely on your cast iron and also on your wooden utensils and cutting boards. The first one we're going to make is the wood butter. This is what I have used for years on all of my wood spoons and utensils and cutting boards, and I just think it does a great job, and it lasts for quite a while before you have to do it again. Wood is a natural product, but if not sealed, it does dry out over time. And you can't put a permanent seal on your utensils that you use to cook with or to cut on, so that's where this comes in. I make this raw beeswax, and we're going to be using it in both of these recipes. I have it packaged up like this because I sell it in my sister's shop. And I also have the wood butter packaged like this for the same reason. However, I also give these as gifts at Christmas time. So if you're giving someone a gift of a cast iron skillet, you could make a little cast iron conditioner to go with it. Or if you're giving them wooden spoons or a nice cutting board, you could make some wood butter to go with that. So for the wood butter recipe, you just use 1 part beeswax to 4 parts food grade mineral oil. There are other uses for the mineral oil too, and it shows you there what the other uses are. In both of these that I will be making it in large amounts because I'm making some for the shop and some to give as Christmas gifts. So all you need to do is make however much you want to make. And so the recipe for this is 1 part beeswax to 4 parts mineral oil. And so on the scale here, I'm showing you how much beeswax it takes to make 4 ounces, because that's the amount that I need for what I'm making today. Okay, so there's 4 ounces, and I will be adding 16 ounces of mineral oil to that. So the first thing that we need to do is get the beeswax into a heat-safe jar and heat it up. You still don't bring this to a boil. You just heat the water enough to melt that wax. And for that much wax, it does take quite a while. This is what I use to heat it up in. And it's just a double boiler. So I put the water in the bottom and then put the top pan on, and I set both of the jars in there. So I will be setting the mineral oil jar in there and the jar of beeswax. And the beeswax jar had a label on the side of it. I didn't get that all the way off, but that's the jar that I use just for beeswax. So I'm really not concerned about that label. It will eventually wear off. Okay, and this is the mineral oil. Make sure that it is 100% mineral oil, and also that it is food grade. So since we have the beeswax in 1 jar, we're just going to pour the mineral oil in the other jar to keep them separated for now. And that jar is 16 ounces of mineral oil, or that bottle is. So I don't have to measure that. I just pour that whole amount in the jar. Okay, and it's showing you that it is food grade and it is 16 ounces of mineral oil. And then if your double boiler is big enough for both containers to be in at the same time, then set both of them in there. If it isn't big enough, then you'll have to do two separate ones. One way of keeping the mineral oil warmed up, and then the other one for melting the beeswax. And if you look there, that because that beeswax isn't melted yet, that jar is not wanting to stay seated in there. And so if you have that problem, then the fix for that is to put something on top of the jar that will stay there, but that has some weight to it. And so that's what I'm using to weight the jar down and hold it down so it doesn't end up falling over while it's melting. And even though it's the same amount of weight as a solid as it is as a liquid, once it melts, then it doesn't have that problem. It will stay there. Okay, I just turned that on medium-high because I don't really want it boiling. I just want it to melt the beeswax and warm up the mineral oil. So once it has done that, then you can remove both of them. So there's the mineral oil. And the beeswax, and you'll see when I lift it up that it's a little darker than you would expect beeswax to be, but that's because it is raw beeswax. That's the one that I got from my beekeeper friends. Their name is Gary and Lori, and it's just a darker wax. Okay, once you have both of them setting out, you pour the mineral oil into the beeswax. And the reason that you needed to heat the mineral oil is so that the beeswax won't start trying to become a solid again when that mineral oil hits it. So they need to be close to the same temperature. And as you can see there, I used a paper towel around the jar that I picked up because they are hot. They've been in there heating up. So once you have both of those combined, they really mix themselves, but I always just stir them anyway. And I'm using a wood spoon when I stir them. And so that spoon gets conditioned that way. This is really an easy recipe to make, and it is such a lifesaver for any of your wooden utensils, or like I said, cutting boards, butcher block table, any of that, any kind of raw wood that you have that you want to stay raw but you don't want it to dry out, you can use this on it. So once I have stirred that, which is really plenty enough already, I start pouring it into a pitcher that has a little bit of a spout on it to make it easier to pour. However, I did need to move my labels out of the way there because I don't want beeswax getting on them. And I really should have put something on the little cutting board there underneath the containers because it still did drip some. But I just clean that off afterward. It's not a big deal. It just causes a little bit more of a mess than if you prepare for that to begin with, which I did not do. Okay, so you pour each of these. I usually don't pour them completely full to begin with, and then I go back and top them off once I've got some in each of them. But if you look at that first one there, you can kind of see that it's starting to set up already some. It doesn't take them very long to set up. I would say maybe 10 minutes to start setting up, but then you need to leave them setting out longer than that because they need to completely cool back down to room temperature before you put the lid on them. Do try to make sure that you have a couple extra containers ready to pour this into in case that you end up with more than you actually were intending to make. So that's the case here. Of course, I was making the 8 for the shop, and then I was going to do a couple more here, but I only had that one jar sitting there, so I ended up having to stop the video and get another jar. So just try to be a little bit more prepared than I was on that particular one and have more than enough utensils or containers ready, just in case that you have more than you think you have. I usually condition my wood spoons about once every 2 or 3 months, but it really depends on how often that you use them. And sometimes you have favorites that you go to and you use them a lot more than you do some of the others. So some may still look like they just got conditioned when others look like they're desperately in need of a spa day. So the reason that I'm using these 2 ingredients with this is because the mineral oil is the best at penetrating the wood at a reasonable price. It is the best oil for penetrating into the wood and moisturizing it and getting in there into all the cracks and everything. And then the beeswax, when you mix it with the mineral oil, the beeswax seals it. Once it's in there, the mineral oil has made it into the cracks and everything, the beeswax seals it and holds it there. And it's not like a permanent seal because you can't really do that with kitchen utensils, but it lasts for a long time. So if you don't have your favorite that you're already using to condition your wood with, or if you're going out and buying it instead of making it, then please give this a try and see what you think about it. These are the containers that I used for it, and you can buy them on Amazon. I really like these particular ones because the lid screws on and it makes it a lot easier to get it on and off. So once you have poured all of your wood butter and it has set up, you need to clean the containers off some to catch any, get any drips or whatever. So to do that, I just use those alcohol wipes. And then if they're good and cool, then all you need to do now is put your lid on it. And if you don't already have a label on it, then put some kind of a label on it. It doesn't have to have one like this. I did this on the printer. I buy the Avery labels, and then if you go to Avery's website, it has a template there for you to print all of this. So everything that you need to know or need to do is there on their website, and then you just print it off on your computer. And if you don't do that, then just put some kind of label on there or just write on the top of it what it is and when you made it, just so you know how long you've had that particular one. But it does have a very long lifespan. I've had one container before and used it 2 or 3 years and it was still fine. And that's one of the benefits of the mineral oil, is that it doesn't go rancid. So it never has a smell. It's perfectly conditions the wood. So that's a spoon that my daughter-in-law Jennifer gave me as part of a Christmas gift one year. And I try my best. I love that spoon, so I try my best to keep it in good shape. And when you use it and it gets washed, then eventually that coating that you put on there gets washed off and the spoon starts to look a little dull and a little rough. So that's when it needs a spa day, which is what it's getting now. So you just massage the oil into the wood and you end up with a spoon that looks brand new again and is protected for quite some time, depending on how often you use it. And this one's kind of a salad bowl spoon, so I don't use it as often as I do some of the others. I don't actually use it for cooking with. And see how pretty it is and shiny and conditioned. I just love that wood butter, and I love that spoon. And this is a cutting board that my neighbor Tommy made for me years ago. And I absolutely love it, and I use it all the time. But because I use it all the time, it gets cut marks in it and gets stains on it sometimes. And the wood butter does not remove the stain, but it does seal it to prevent future stains while it's on there. And also seal in those cuts that I've made in it by using it as a cutting board. So with that, just rub it on really good. If your board is really dried out, then it might be a good idea to just use plain mineral oil and rub it all over it and let it sit overnight with just the plain mineral oil. And then the next day, go over it again with the mineral oil that has the beeswax in it, which is the wood butter. And that will seal in what you did the day before, and your wood board will look a lot better and it will feel a lot better. So here I'm just doing half of the board. Well, actually the top 1/2 of the board. And I'm doing that and trying to leave a line there so that you can see the difference. So that side has been conditioned with the wood butter. And when I hold it up there to the light, I think you can see a line there and see the difference in what has not had the wood butter and what has. Parts of that wood are really light color anyway because it's different wood from different trees that's put together. So I wasn't able to get quite as good of a line there as I had hoped for to show you the difference, but it really does make a huge difference. And even on the light colored wood, it doesn't change the color of it because it's clear, but you can definitely tell where you have conditioned and where you have not. So I hope that you will consider going over all your wood with a conditioner. And like I said, if you already have one that you're happy with, then that's great. If you are buying that one and you would like to start making your own, then that's great. Okay, so now we're on our cast iron conditioner. And I'm not going to go through all the steps of making it because it is exactly the same as the wood butter. The only difference is that for cast iron, I use grapeseed oil instead of the mineral oil. Everything else, all the steps, the measurements, everything are all the same. So for cast iron, I use the beeswax for 2 reasons. One is because beeswax is a traditional method that's natural and non-toxic, and it creates a smooth, non-stick surface on your iron skillets or whatever iron material you're using it on. These are mine hanging in my kitchen. I use it on my bacon press there. And I use it on all those skillets. And I actually didn't even have one that was in need of being conditioned to show you the difference because I reconditioned them. I just rub more on it after I use them, after every use, because I do wash them. So if you wash it and you add iron, or you add water or dish soap, which in many cases you have to do, then that sets it up for being exposed to getting iron on it or rust on it. and the conditioner stops that from happening. So I always just rub a little bit on it after each time that I use it. And this is the cast iron container and what it looks like, and it's already poured and done. And like I said, it is the same exact recipe as the wood butter, except for that one ingredient that I changed out on it. I hope that you will try these, and I hope you like them. May God bless you, and have a great day.